Good morning. Welcome to your early morning intuitive guidance. I'm going to try to adjust this a little bit. Should be interesting. There we go. That's a little better. So I don't have this disembodied head floating through the video. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, America's kick-ass coach and psychologist. Here with some interesting things for us to ponder in this Thanksgiving week when many of us get together with family and or friends and old dynamics can pop up. Good morning, Joe. Welcome. Good morning to whomever else has popped on. Glad you are here. But my thought was, and yesterday actually, I had two conversations with two different people in which they both elected in the future not to address something on the front end with somebody. Good morning, Gwen. Glad you're here. And I was very puzzled by that choice. Good morning, Mel. Welcome, welcome. Because to me, it seemed more logical and reasonable to address a potentially not good thing on the front end. Good morning, Holly. Welcome, welcome. And avoid an issue than to, good morning, Cindy. Welcome. Than to wait until it kind of blows up in your face and then have to try to deal with it when everybody's defensive. That's not how these two people chose to go. And so I was confused by that and interested in that. And so I thought today what I would do, and hopefully some of this will be useful for you Thanksgiving period of time. Good morning, Carolyn. Welcome, welcome. We got a good crowd today. I'm a little bit late because I started reading in the book and going, oh yeah, this and this and this. And going, wait, scale it back just one little chunk. That's all we're going to deal with today. So the book is Taking the War Out of Our Words, The Art of Powerful, Non-Defensive Communication by Sharon Ellison. Now, won't that be wonderful for Thanksgiving when you're dealing with family? All right. So the part that I wanted to read today is called Questions About Motivation and Intention. Because part of what happens is we make assumptions about why somebody said something, didn't do something, etc. Operate from those assumptions, and sometimes we're way off base on those. So I just want to read through a little part of this and see if there's some tools that you can glean from this that will help you Thanksgiving week and moving forward. So let's see what you think. So a couple of nice deep breaths. Just settling into right here, right now. There we go. So I'm going to read it and then we'll see where we go with it. Questions about motivation and intention. Questions about motivation and intention could naturally apply to the majority of examples in this book. By motivation, I mean whatever causes a person to say or do something or speak in a certain tone of voice, whereas intention involves a person's goal or objective. I'll deal with motivation and intention together because they often overlap. We frequently think we know exactly why someone said something, but we never discuss the motivation directly. We go away fuming, feeling manipulated and negated, or when we easily could have brought the issue of the person's motivation out in the open. Consider the following 7 kinds of situations that call for questions regarding motivation and intention. And I'm just going to pick some of them, just so we have some grist for our mill. The first one is when we want to check out our own assumptions. So the story she poses is Polly turned in her resignation to join another insurance company where she would be able to advance, and the agent she worked for remarked, "You'll never make it." She could have asked him about the motivation for his comment. "Are you saying that because you want to keep me here?" And again, notice the tone there. It's not accusatory, defensive, anything. It's just curious. Are you saying that because you want to keep me here? Checking out our assumption about someone's motive can have a powerful effect even if the other person doesn't admit its truth. And in a surprising number of cases, people will acknowledge their motivation if asked directly. Okay? So there's a whole lot of stuff in there, right? When we non-defensively ask someone to clarify why they said what they said, can you help me understand why you said blah, blah, blah? And I'll get to more of this, but it opens an opportunity for conversation instead of, I bet they said that because they're jealous or they're angry or they want to keep me down, or whatever assumption we make in our head, all right? Number 2, when someone is acting inappropriately. Bill, the custodian at a high school, witnessed a woman teacher watching a student throw garbage on the hallway floor. She then turned to Bill and said, "Can you take care of that mess?" Bill wasn't comfortable challenging the teacher. He mumbled okay and cleaned up the mess, furious all the while. Later, in a workshop, he asked how he might have handled this situation. He could have asked the teacher, "When you saw the student throw the garbage on the floor, what made you ask me to pick it up instead of asking the student to do it?" Again, curious. Good morning, Beth. Good morning, Beth. And sometimes when we're in reactivity, we have to work a little bit to step outside the reactivity and then be able to ask the question. So one way to do that is asking yourself, could there be other reasons why this person said this? Could there be other reasons why this person said this? Instead of us running off with the one reason that we think it's about, which makes us feel bad, could there be other reasons? And then we become curious, and then we can ask the question like this. When the student threw the garbage on the floor, what made you ask me to pick it up instead of asking the student to do it? It is possible that the teacher felt more intimidated asking the student to pick it up than asking the custodial person. Even if the teacher didn't admit that, she might examine her own behavior and behave differently in the future. And it empowers him in the asking. It lets her know, I noticed this and I wasn't real happy about it, without having to be confrontational and combative, right? Number 3, when we are puzzled by someone's behavior. In some cases, we are puzzled by a person's motivation or frustrated because we think we are receiving double messages about the person's intentions. So here's the story she shares about that. Yes. Good. I'm glad this is helpful. I loved this book, and I'm going to make it one of those Bibles. And so that's one of the reasons it was sitting here to be chosen today, is periodically I'm going to give us little readings out of this book for things to chew on, because this is only going to help all of us with our communication, right? So here's the story for when we're puzzled by someone's behavior. A woman from a rape crisis agency was called to a small town by a sheriff who had requested advice on questioning rape victims. As the woman spoke with the sheriff, he looked away from her, chewed gum loudly, and played with a paperclip. Finding herself getting irritated at his seeming lack of interest after she'd come some distance to talk with him, she thought of a non-defensive question and asked him simply, "Are you interested in hearing what I'm talking about?" He put down the paperclip, glanced at her, and said, "Yeah, it's just a little hard." The woman had asked the sheriff about his intentions, about whether he wanted to hear what she had to say. If his answer had shown a genuine lack of interest or even hostility, she could have asked about his motivation for having called her. In that case, she might have found out he had mishandled a situation involving a rape victim, at which time another official had recommended he get some training. If so, the woman would know what she was dealing with and could respond more effectively than if she had never addressed the sheriff's seeming lack of interest. Okay? So sometimes just us querying, seems like you're frustrated with my story here. Can you help me understand what you're needing? Just asking a question, what's your motivation here, is helpful. In this case, both people's attitudes shifted. The sheriff's comment became the basis for a valuable conversation. The woman learned that the sheriff was uncomfortable talking about rape, but he believed his job required that he develop some skill in dealing with violence against women. The consultant left their meeting believing that their talk had genuinely helped the sheriff to deal with his own discomfort and so to be more gentle with any victim of violence. Had she not asked that single question about his level of interest in the conversation, she would have continued to resent her own interpretation of his attitude, and the outcome could have been very different. Okay? Number 4. When we want to ask permission to approach a topic. I use this one, since I read this, I've been using this one frequently within the family because it makes a huge difference. Sometimes we hesitate to approach a topic at all, thinking the person might resent our question, or that the timing might not be right for a discussion, or in my circumstances, that the person will be highly reactive right off the bat. In such cases, we can ask for permission to ask the question. Is it all right if I ask you a question about what you just said? Here, we seek to find out if the person feels motivated to engage in discussion. We can also ask directly about how willing the person feels to do anything, to listen to us, to answer us, to make some kind of commitment. We may also ask someone who seems determined that his opinion is the only one with merit, are you willing to hear what my reasoning is on this issue? If the answer is no, we no longer have to waste our time offering our viewpoint. And I've had that happen. Would you like to hear my opinion on this? And the man said no. And I said, well, that's fine. Then I guess we're done with this discussion. And out the door he went. That was fine. I wasn't wasting my time. Good morning, Catherine. Trying to get through that barrier that was there and was going to stay there. As my grandmother would say, save your breath to cool your soup. If the answer is yes, the person will usually be more committed to hearing what we have to say. So here's one on asking about a defensive reaction we get, okay? And I'll share a story that was my personal story, that when I came forward to one of my family members who's in the same generation as myself with abuse information and got this very negative reaction, I hadn't revealed who the perpetrator was, but I asked, well, who are you thinking I'm talking about? And she flared again and said, well, so-and-so. And I said, no, I'm talking about so-and-so. So her reaction had to do with the assumption that I was talking about a particular person, when in fact I was talking about somebody else. And if I had not asked the question, we wouldn't have cleared up that misunderstanding and therefore released the defensiveness. Okay? So, when we want to ask about a defensive reaction, in order to understand motivations or intentions, we can ask about a person's misuse of questions, statements, predictions, or any other defensive reaction. So the story that, I'll give you a little backstory here. It's a mom attempting to get her daughter to help with chores. Kind of like, okay, you live here, you need to contribute, blah, blah, blah. And they've been fighting over this throughout the course of the book, and we're on page 123 here. So Mom is Corey, Beth is daughter. Corey might say to Beth, are you attacking me and telling me I'm unfair as a way to get out of doing the dishes? To a person who is misusing a statement to try to persuade us to agree, we might say, are you trying to get me to agree with you? Are you trying to get me to agree with you? Here, instead of just defending our own viewpoint, we're bringing the person's efforts to convince us into the open for direct discussion. So much of the time, our conflicts are related to reactions outside the context of the conversation. What I like to say about that is, when we enter a relationship with somebody, we bring all of our baggage from all of the past relationships. When we enter a conversation with somebody, we bring all of the baggage from our past conversations with people. So think about that. If we have a four-way conversation, it's four people bringing their baggage to the table. Is it any wonder conversations get convoluted and messed up? But when we start asking these discerning questions, seems like you're getting a little upset about this. Can you help me understand where that's coming from? You stay as level as you can stay. Don't take the bait. If someone makes a very provocative conversation or statement, the other thing about that is, if someone makes a provocative statement and it does push your buttons, be honest about that. You know, I'm having a little bit of a reaction to what you said here. Can you give me a minute to kind of get a grip? And I'm going to see if I can formulate a question to ask you to try to understand what just happened here. Buy yourself a little time. A healthy enough person that you're talking to will allow you the space to gather your thoughts and get your emotions under control. Someone who is not all that healthy may keep going, may keep poking, may keep attacking. You then can leave the circumstance. This isn't going well. It's going to get nasty. I don't want to go there, so I'm going to leave. I'm going to take a break. When I'm ready to talk about it, I'll give you a call or I'll show up. Good morning, BJ. Glad you are here. Welcome, welcome. So, I think I'm just going to stop with that many of them because that's quite a bit to process already. But hopefully that gave you a few little tools, things that you can use, especially this week, if you're going to be around family and friends, especially family. Family members, they grew up with us. They know our buttons. They're very capable of poking them, right? And I think it's incredibly reasonable to do these kinds of things. Check out your assumptions. So, when my little brother is provocative on Thursday, I can say to him, so is your intention to get everybody ruffled up here? Is that what you're aiming for? No, that's not it at all. And that may be not accurate, him responding that that's not what he's intending to do. But then I can come back with, well, it kind of feels to me like you're trying to poke my buttons. You've called it out. You've put it on the table. Then they're either going to have to deny or accept what you've said. Oh, good. I'm so glad there's a lot of good ideas. Good. Because we all need help with this. I absolutely hated many points in my life where someone just said, well, you need to talk to them about that. How? What words do I use? I remember when I was 18 and my life was falling apart. My boyfriend had hooked up with my best friend. Everything was just crap. And I went to the doctor because who knew what else to do? And he said to me, you ready for this? You need to reassess your life. I'm 18 friggin' years old. I had no idea. I was clueless. And that was his advice. Not helpful, okay? But again, with this kind of thing, if someone says, well, you need to question their assumption, the assumptions you're making about why they said that, that's great. Give me the words. So the words can be, I'm wondering if you meant A or B. I'm having a reaction to what you said because I'm thinking your intention was X. Am I on board there or am I all wet? Ask. And I will guarantee you, yes, this is another book that you need. It is wonderful. And we all have a lot of work to do because one of her premises at the very beginning of the book is that our English language from the get-go has been set up to be combative. So we all need practice with this. We all need help with this. But any little toehold we can get in terms of not playing this game anymore, the reactive language, the combative language, the us versus them, the either or, it's only this or that. When we expand our consciousness into, no, there's many options. And yesterday's card, which I loved, there was that part in there where it talked about our humanness on this earth. We think that this is the only path to follow. This is the only answer. Good morning, Lisa. Welcome. A whole lot of new people. This is fabulous. We think it's the only path to follow, when the universe knows there are myriad solutions to any problem. There are multiple paths to get where we want to go. We just get very focused and sometimes don't heed the guidance that we're standing at a crossroads and we have options. There might be 4 different paths to choose from. Listening to our heart, not getting caught up totally in logic. I'll reason my way through which path to take. Listening to your heart. Allow yourself to be guided. Let spirit lead you where you're meant to go. And even if you get down a path of ways and you go, well, this was not a good choice, and you go back and pick a different path, there may still have been something down that path that's going to be integral to the process coming up. So I'll give you my example of that. Prior to having TJ, my dog TJ, I had a dog, Missy. Missy was Satan incarnate. She bit everybody. She had a bad life early on, had lived with a woman who had to relocate and was going to put Missy down. But I just felt like I was supposed to have her. So I had her for several years before she passed. But she was hell on wheels, hell on paws. And I often asked, what's the reason that why do I have this dog? Why do I have this dog? I have TJ now. TJ has some of the same behavioral things as Missy did, but he's a whole different animal. He's much more loving. He's much kinder. He has more potential to get a grip on negative behaviors and be a good dog. He is a good dog. Having had Missy, I can cut TJ some slack. I get where this comes from. I get this is a trauma dog. And when he reacts, he's not in there. He's not in there. And I need to use the tools to redirect and move on. So that was a little aside. Anywho, I would love to have you all get the book because, it's the same as I feel about the Tosha Silver book and the Big Magic book. They have such powerful stuff in them that as we adopt even a little piece of this stuff and put it forth into our world, amazing changes happen. Amazing changes happen. And we as a species, humanity, is so ready. In fact, I wonder if I can find I got this cool little thing in the mail. Where'd it go? It's a bookmark, but it's basically something about giving humanity a boost, and I really like that. So hopefully I gave humanity a boost today, and the 9 of you who are on here, and I think we were up to 14 at one point, which was fabulous, grab a little something out of this video today and run with it. Just one little piece to try. Don't overwhelm yourself by trying to do everything at once. Just pick one thing and run with it. Have an awesome day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you are capable of far more than you think you are. Bye-bye.